Did the Spirit die?
The Spirit, depends how you define the Spirit.
Did the Spirit immediately go into... You believe that
power.
Jesus had a Spirit?
Everybody has a Spirit.
Okay, did the Spirit die?
Does
The
anybody's
Son of
spirit
God
die?
died.
Oh, so your whole argument then really
No,
goes
the
nowhere.
Son of
with
God
it.
died, and that's supposed to be God the Son in your language. So,
The
God
Son
the
of
Son
God
died.
as a human being died, but
As a human being, you said.
but his spirit.
This is amazing to me because this is the exact argument that my Muslim friends make, and they say, God cannot die. And I take them to John chapter 10. What did Jesus say? No one takes my life from me. I give it of my own accord.
Yeah.
Jesus voluntarily gives his life, but he doesn't cease to exist. He says to the thief on the cross, today you will be with me in paradise. Yeah. So people say, well, who was running the universe when Jesus was dead? And I'm like, he didn't cease to exist. He gave his life as a sacrifice. And that's the same thing here. You said by definition, Jesus cannot be God. So what you're saying is, by definition, God could not enter into his own creation so as to give his life as a ransom for his people. That's by definition. That's assuming the end of this argument rather than allowing the Word of God to define the parameters of the argument
I disagree
itself.
with so much of that. It would take a while to unpack it. I don't think you're alive when you're dead. That's a different point of view.
No argument on that point.
So Moses and Elijah are really dead, but they appear on the Mount of Transfiguration.
No, well, they can work that out easy. Hebrews 11 says they all died. That's quite clear, including them. Everybody died.
But they didn't cease to exist.
They died.
But they didn't cease to exist.
Is dead.
He's not the God of the dead. He's not the God of the dead, but of the living, because all live to him.
Exactly.
But when the Son of God dies, he doesn't live.
No.
I have a problem with
But you misunderstood. Let's get back.
Let's get back to the beginning issue.
It's spirited.
You keep coming back to that. The beginning language occurs most clearly in Psalm 2, which is a coronation psalm. It doesn't speak of the creation of the king. It speaks of when the king is coronated. Psalm 2, because this is the decree. The Lord said to me, you are my son, speaking first and foremost to the Davidic king, and then by application to the Messiah. Psalm 2 rightly understood, historically understood, as the vast majority of scholars, since you like to cite scholars, would agree. So, Ani hayom yiliticha, this day I begotten you, does not speak of bringing him into existence, but of his taking on the role of son, just as in 2 Samuel, the 7th chapter, God says to the descendants of David, I'll be a father to them, they'll be my sons. So at the time of coronation, they were recognized as that role of Son of God. So as Jesus comes into the world, he is now designated Son of God. At his resurrection, Romans 1, Acts 13, he is recognized as Son of God.
Hey, jump in here.
And the Son, the other thing, just to remind those tuning in and maybe that missed the other point, all the references we gave to the pre-existence of the Son, they haven't been shot down, haven't been touched. The explicit references like Isaiah 6, like Genesis 18, like these other passages, the other verses that we quoted that speak of the pre-existence of the Son, tell us now that he was not created when he entered Miriam's womb, but now he takes on the role of Son of God as he comes into the earth in that form, and that his resurrection declared the Son of God with power.
When he entered Mary's womb, did you hear it? When he entered from outside, is that what Luke and Matthew describe? I beg you to go back and read the synoptics and see if there's anything about anybody entering. No, that which is begotten in her. Matthew 1:20, I want you to read the Greek carefully. Not conceived only, it's the same thing, but begotten. That which is fathered, brought into existence in her, is the Son of God.
It's the human being. And
It's
the Son was eternally pre-existent. We've seen all the texts that say it. So I read, what I do is I don't start reading in Matthew. I start reading in the Tanakh, the Hebrew Scriptures. By the time I get to Matthew, I already see the pre-existent Son. So it's very clear. And John 1 makes it abundantly clear for anyone that might have missed it.
Okay, here's my favorite question of part 2. We understand on the cross, Jesus was separated from God. How is this possible if he is himself God? How can one God be divided?
I don't remember anything in the Bible about Jesus being separated from God. When Jesus cries out, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, that is from Psalm 2. And 22. And when you read the 22nd Psalm, what do you discover there? You discover it is a deeply messianic psalm. And how does it end? It ends with the vindication of the suffering servant. And so, unlike many strong sermons I've heard, the fact of the matter is that on the cross, when Jesus does that, everybody knows the Psalter was the hymn book of the Jewish people. And you didn't have to sing the whole psalm to remind people of what it was about. If I said, Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound, I don't have to finish it for everybody in this audience because they already know what the rest of it is. In the same way, when Jesus says this, the very next words from his lips are, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. So the Father is still there. That's in the second person. This idea that when Jesus is offering the greatest obedience to the Father, when he's doing exactly what the Father has sent him to do, he's drinking the cup, that somehow there is a fundamental disturbance of the Godhead and a separation of the Father and the Son, I have absolutely no reason to believe that. If there was something like that, the book of Hebrews would have picked up on it. It's not there. I think it's just a fundamental misreading of the quotation.
So you don't
from Psalm
understand
22.
the sacrifice to be that Yeshua, when he bore the sins of the world, that he experienced this separation from the Father.
He experiences the wrath of God. That's a vast difference from an actual... The question is asking, in essence, was there a fundamental separation of two divine persons from one another? And that would create ditheism. That would create a separation of Godhead that would just be absolutely impossible. I think that's a misreading of Psalm 22.
Yeah, and the Psalm 22 point is quite clear. The forsakenness is that I haven't been delivered from this deathly situation, but then he is delivered to the praise of the entire earth. So by quoting that, he's drawing attention to Psalm 22. If there was any type of a spiritual separation that you just wanted to talk about symbolically because of him taking the sins of the world on his shoulders and feeling the weight of that, that's not an issue. But a separation between Father and Son in terms of a reality of separation is another story.
Now, that's your question, so do you want to comment on that? Do you believe there was a separation on the cross?
I can agree with what they said, that there was, on the forsaken thing. I don't have a problem with that. What I do have a major problem with the idea of Yeshua being deity and being killed. Now, I want to separate between being dead, eternally dead, like the soul being dead, and being killed, because I don't believe God can be killed. I don't believe that God can be limited. You asked me a moment ago about can he be limited in any way. I don't believe God can be limited in his knowledge, in his understanding, in all things. I do think he can be limited by his own word. In other words, it says God cannot be a man, and our God is not a man.
Yeah, it's a different statement.
Yeah, it is a different statement, but it definitely says God is not a man. We have.
Do you think we believe that he is in his nature?
I think that you believe that when Yeshua came, that he was God.
Yes, but you see the difference
but
between saying that the essential nature of God.
He pitched his tent among us. Numbers 23:19. God is not a man that he should lie.
I have no problem with him pitching his tent among us, but I don't see that as a reference to him being deity.
But if he pitched his tent, who lived in the tent?
His agent.
His agent lived in the tent.
That's right. He
No,
represented
it says that
him. He represented
the fullness
him.
of God dwelt in him in bodily form. And let's also remember that the
Who
apostles
redeemed
and
the
all these
people out
others
of Egypt?
The apostles and all these others were called agents, but nobody worshipped them, and the worship due to Jesus couldn't go to them.
Who redeemed the people out of Egypt?
God.
That's right. Okay. Who was his agent?
Moses.
Okay, and that's the first redemption. You
But-
have the
but they
first
did not
redemption. You have
worship
the second.
Moses. They-
Absolutely, they don't worship him.
But they worshiped the Son. And God did not pitch his tent in Moses. He pitched his tent in a tabernacle, and his glory dwelt there. So let's just look at the analogy. Think for a second. God pitched his tent. Exodus 25. Make for me a holy place, and I will dwell in their midst. God dwells in the tabernacle. Who dwelt in the physical tabernacle of the body of Jesus? God.
Okay, final
God
response to that,
incarnate.
and then we're moving
That's the
on.
only possible way to